And we are live. Hey everybody, welcome to the SpiritSide chats.
Hello.
We got a few new faces here today. This is really exciting. I think before we break into it, I would love to ask Aaron to lead us in an opening meditation. If he's not frozen. He looks a little frozen. Oh, no, he's back.
I'm happy to do so, to have a little a mantra here that I just posted in group chat. Can you see that?
Me dehane me atma om.
It's pronounced ma dihani om. And what this mantra is it's specifically referring to the first mantra of what's referred to as Atma Yoga. Atma Yoga being the yoga of your soul. So there's lots of physical yoga, and this is what a lot of people refer to when they think of yoga, typically from the Western sense of, your stretchings and your postures. So these are postures that you take for your soul. And they're just states of being that you set yourself into and allow that experience to flow through you. Now, this one in particular, Madhani Niyatma Om, that's loud. Madhani Niyatma Om refers to, I am not the body, I am the soul. That is the literal translation. Madhani, I'm not the body, Niyatma Om, I am the soul. So when you repeat this in your mind, in your head, you just allow yourself to distance your perspective. A lot of times people say the world is perfect. The only thing that you perceive that's not perfect is your perception of it. So this mantra specifically brings you to the level of you are a greater being, and just be there, be present with it. So in this meditation, just close your eyes and focus on your breath. Go very deep into your breath as you inhale deeply and exhale deeply. And then in your head, or you can say it out loud, just repeat Madhani Miyatma Om. 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 I'm not the body, I am the soul. You can be present within your physical body, being aware of your mind and your consciousness inside of your body, but understanding the separateness of your consciousness from your body, and the unity of your consciousness to the consciousness of the cosmos. Namaste. Return to the present moment, feeling gratitude and appreciation for your awareness, and moving forward with love and positivity as you are more than your body. And then that raises the question, if you are more than your body, what are you?
Thank you.
That was great.
It's such a wonderful practice to just be able to like ground it in and center it in back to that state. It was kind of mirroring another experience I had just this morning. I had to drive around and do a few errands. And there was at one point where I just started getting in my head and I was like, okay, I gotta go here and here and here, and should I do this too while I'm in the area? And then like starting to get like just kind of a jumble of thoughts, and really just taking that moment to just like, wait a second, where's my awareness? Where's my breath? Bring it all like here from down here, just center that. And then, oh, I know exactly what to do. And then it just happens so naturally, you know? So thank you for that practice. Yeah, thank you for that practice. I wanted to ask too, because this is something that now we've talked about before, just you and I, Aaron, but it's just something that's still relatively new to me, and I know a lot of people are also not. Well, there's you know, not as many people are as familiar with it, but like, what is the value of reciting these ancient mantras, you know, in the like in Sanskrit or in, you know, an ancient Egyptian or what have you, as opposed to just, you know, like the English modern version of it? I'd love to hear not just your, Aaron, your thoughts, because you led it, but also anybody else who's who has some thoughts on it.
Yeah,
like
we have. My first thoughts on this would be, when you're reciting the mantra, remembering the tree has infinite branches. So reciting mantras is just one meditation technique that, out of an infinite numbers, that can help move you forward. Now, I've heard meditation techniques that say reciting mantras in a way is activating your mind and your mental component, and it's not as beneficial as opposed to a complete silent mind. However, in the differences between, we'll say, a silent mind meditation versus active mind meditation, they both have individual applications where they're beneficial. And for me, I've used mantras specifically as a tool to help correct my thoughts when I would be thinking, we'll say, self-destructive or negative or unpositive thoughts. I would therein say, okay, I choose not to continue thinking these thoughts. And I've identified that I do not want to continue thinking these thoughts. But now, what's a positive, reaffirming thought that I can put in its place? And a lot of times I will use simple mantras for this because they're quick, they're easy, they roll off the tongue once you're used to saying them. And so it would get down to, oh, I was, we'll say, driving around and someone cut me off type of a thing, instead of going into an energy of unhappy or unpleasant. I would use a mantra in that moment to reground, we'll say, peace. And I'd recite the peace mantra several times, so I refound that peace within me. So when you're reciting mantras, though, the bigger component, I think part of the question of what Jordan was alluding to, of why you would specifically say Om Shanti 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 instead of just peace, or Om to the Creator, peace, 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 right? Why would you say the Sanskrit versus the English, or just nothing at all and just feeling it? And the reason why I believe we recite mantras, and this is just my perception, my experience to date, is you are tapping into the collective field of all of the people who are shared in that mantra, in that specific experience. So when you say Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, you're like, a part of you goes out and resonates with all of the monks and all of the practitioners all around the world who are also resonating peace within themselves with the same language. Now, language is the other part of this. It has a very important aspect to, we'll say, the vibratory world that we live in. And even as I'm speaking English now, the sounds that I'm making are going out and having an effect on the world around me. Where if I'm speaking Sanskrit, now, the information here might not be 100% perfect, but as best as I understand it, was the language of Sanskrit was written more based on the, we'll say, the sounds that each letter or each force, the creative forces, each sound that it made, the meaning was given based on the sound. It wasn't we created meanings and then randomly associated sounds to it. We would say, ah, okay, ah is a sound. Now, what is the meaning of this sound? And they would study that, and then the definition became based on the sound itself. So there are several languages that are written like this. I believe Hebrew is written like this. I believe Arabic was written like this. Sanskrit was written like this. And so when you're using a language where the very sounds that you are emitting has meaning, every letter has an extreme definition of a philosophical context that you can learn from meditating on just that sound. And I've done a practice with this in Hebrew, where you would take each one of the consonants from the language of Hebrew and you would study that letter for 20 minutes a day, several days consecutively, just for one letter, to try and understand the meaning of the sound and of the visual representation of it. And it was a fantastic meditation. So when you combine these sounds together, you're essentially casting spells, quite literally. It's almost as if, and when you're more aware of this, your fingers and your hands are also actively casting spells. So whether or not your hands are, we'll say, in a particular mudra or a mantra, these are all just representations of, we'll say, correcting your vibration into a more aligned you and continuously refining what that definition is every time you get new experience.
Cool. That was very thorough. Thank you.
Yeah, that covered everything I was going to say.
Yeah.
Really well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Yeah. Cool. So how is everybody else? There's so many people on here now. This is great.
I'm doing fantastic. I am getting ready to go on a spiritual journey in 13 days. And it'll be 21 days long, traveling throughout the States. I am excited.
Wow.
Very nice.
Light speed counselor. That's great.
Thank you.
Whereabouts are you
How's
going?
everybody else? I'm starting out at the Boulder Psychic Institute as my first stop to get a free aura and chakra reading, just because I want to meet anybody who runs a place called the Boulder Psychic Institute. It's too intriguing. And then I want to go to Sedona and check it out. I hear a lot of great things about it.
Both amazing places. You're going to have a great time.
Yeah,
I'm
Sedona's
looking to run into Bentino Massaro. I really want to see if I can run into him while I'm out there.
You guys.
Wow, there's a lot of people on here. I just see all this little flickering of tiles.
That's really interesting. I live in Phoenix, Joshua, and I think that I may be seeing Bentino too.
That's
interesting.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love synchronicities.
Yeah.
I don't know who this person is.
He's amazing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to explain what he does, Joshua, and then I'll explain like where my greatest inspiration comes from him.
I first started seeing him on, people would share videos on Facebook, and I thought he was, just another one of those spiritual supermarket guys that sits around and acts really superior. And then I actually listened to what he was saying. I was like, oh, he's not acting superior at all. He's actually trying to completely drop out his ego. And that's what he's getting across, is you don't have to be all these things. That comes from the ego, that suffering is generated from there. And I like a lot of the things he's saying, so I would really like to see if I couldn't meet him.
Yeah, for me, he has a very similar, I guess, imprint as me. Like when he was very young, he understood that everything was interconnected and that there's really not a lot of separation between people. And I think my biggest inspiration from what he wrote like 2 years ago was that the conscious community is focused on kind of pushing away materialism and consumerism. And so they let go all of their material possessions and their ability to expand their power to be successful. And what we actually need is these people who are conscious and connected to their gifts to be expanding into those gifts and actually acquiring resources, so like money and political influence and things like that, so that we can start changing the structure from the inside, instead of like, you know, creating a community outside of you know, society the way that we know it. It's like we change ourselves from within, we empower ourselves and give ourselves the resources and the connection that all of these politicians and other people that are making kind of not so good choices, and then we become the change by like being integrated into the system. And so it was like stop thinking that being a materialist helping. It's like big. It was like this amazing inspirational speech that he wrote out. And I read it and I was just like, yes, like we need more, you know, like people that are being like, oh God, what's the guy's name that runs Tesla? Oh,
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
thank you. Yeah, we need more like Elon Musk people and et cetera. And people like Bentino. Like Bentino, for example, he did this amazing talk in Boulder, and he talked about fracking. Like he had somebody that was doing a campaign on anti-fracking, and they came in and they raised thousands of dollars to stop fracking in a certain area in Colorado, and it actually was successful. So it just goes to show, like, when we come together and become empowered and start networking and becoming a part of the community in a real way, we actually can make change, you know? So that's what inspires me about him, is that he's using kind of like the ego that we know it today in a positive way. I mean, he's redefining ego in that way. How do we use our personal persona and influence and things like that to actually encourage others and challenge others to be responsible for what's happening on the planet and be true leaders?
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He sounds great.
Yeah, he's cool. I actually have one of my friends writing him, because we might actually go. I don't know if he'll respond, but we're like, she's gonna write to him because she's meeting up with him to have lunch. So I may be having lunch with him sometime in May when he comes, but I don't know yet. So
Cool. That's great. Yeah, that's really
Anybody else
important.
doing anything cool? Here, I can't hear you.
Trisha, you're on the mic.
Sorry, it was kind of like choppy. I couldn't really hear what you guys said there.
Oh, well, Joshua just asked if anybody else was doing anything cool, but I think you and Ashian, I don't know if I'm saying that name right, we'd love to hear from you guys.
Okay, not doing anything like particularly out there. Not everything. My life's kind of flowing along right now. But I'll be going to Colorado during Memorial Day weekend. And now that you told me about that Boulder, the Psychic Institute, I want to definitely check that out because I'll be in like the Denver area. So that'll be something I'll look forward to now.
Yeah, you definitely should. I plan on posting updates on Facebook about it because it's going to be cool.
Cool, great.
An Ossian. Am I saying that name right?
Yeah, you can pronounce it however you like. It's,
Okay.
I guess it's Ossian in Sweden anyways.
Okay. Cool. Well, hey, it's so good to finally have you on here. We've been talking for a long time. It's great to finally have this connection.
Yeah, I just saw the thing pop up on my screen, and I came in.
Beautiful. Well, welcome. How is everything in Sweden? What's the world like from over on that side of the globe?
It's good. It's good. It's getting warmer.
That happens. This is happening here too.
Oh yeah, like it was like 92 in Phoenix. Like the other day, I checked the monitor and I was like, what's that? They had like road signs up where it's like, that's your thermometer, not the speed limit. I was like, oh boy.
So the question was, I doing anything? Yeah, actually, this weekend I'm going back to my family, and there's at the end of this month we make a big fire to like burn in the new year or something. I don't know if they do it in the US but I have a cabin on an island, and the fire they make is like bigger than a building. It's amazing. So it burns all night, and I'm gonna have a shroom trip there with my friend, and it's gonna be amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool.
So that's this weekend, huh?
Yeah, in a few days.
Okay.
Excited.
I celebrate Beltane, and we do a Bellfire for that. But that's awesome.
That sort of sounds like almost like a mini Burning Man sort of thing, like as big as a building and this massive super fire.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with witches, like protection or something. I don't know exactly the story behind it.
It does. The lighting of the Bellfire was a signal that it was in fact spring. It didn't happen until the Mayflower first bloomed, and the Druids would light the Bellfire, and it would function as like a signal fire all across the countryscape. Each hilltop would have a Bellfire, and so then people would know it was time. And that would begin the celebration of Beltane, which was a celebration of fertility and the coming back of the heat and the warmth and the fruit of the land.
Nice. That's pretty cool, man.
I'm learning.
Which reminds me of Taurus energy, because it's all about, which is what we're in right now for the new moon. Taurians are all into, getting you into your extra senses or your sensory experience. Like, eating good food with family and experiencing the way that things, the new feelings, I don't know, that's what it felt like to me, Taurian energy. Getting into your body. You're like awakening.
You are right on that.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus too. I've definitely, my whole energy like has been so, it's been so interesting lately, just observing and experiencing the different waves and levels that I'm like operating at, and the level of sensitivity that I'm becoming to the environment and to food and to other people and to everything is like dramatically skyrocketing in crazy ways. And it's actually getting to the point where like if I'm not like so very careful and mindful and purposeful about everything that I bring into my body, every breath, every meal, every beverage or anything like that, like I can have like crazy mood swings. Like if I like eat even the tiniest little bit of like bread, even like it's not raw. It's like, especially if it's like has like a kind of a traditional like white flour, or even whole wheat flour, or anything like that. If it's not made from like some like sort of sprouted coconut weird thing or something. I don't know. It's like I like within like I'll feel it the moment that it hits my stomach. I go like, okay, first of all, I didn't like that, and now I feel like I could be volatile. I'm still in a good mood, but then like something will, I'll like, you know, like stub my toe or something and become like 10 times more like just angry about it and being like, wow, and like having to be like, okay, instantly noticing that I am now in this mood, and now I have to like go and ground it and change it and shift it and breathe and like, so yeah, no, like,
Yes.
it's things are like picking up. But one of the things that you guys have been talking about that also I just on the topic of like physicality, and you know, Taurus is earth energy as well. But like materialism and the physical reality, I actually learned a lot just in the last 2 days because I've been writing up the descriptions for the tarot cards, and the earth or the discs suit, basically the entire, like as I was writing it, you know, I'm like kind of assimilating all of my awareness about each individual card and element and energy as it relates to the numerology and the astrology all together, and really kind of coming to a new sense of understanding about how physical reality really works. Because like the first section, you know, from like 1 to 4 is really about like establishing and building this kind of material base. But then 5 is like emotion is applied to that structure and stability, and it starts to crumble. But then the 6, which is actually, it's funny because that's where you hit Taurus in the chain. Everything solidifies. Now in the Thoth deck, it's called success. But what happens is that the energy works because it no longer is about you receiving or creating material abundance, but sharing it. Like 6 is all about generosity and giving,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the continuation of that cycle. And then it changes again between 7 to 9. Now I had to assimilate 2 different decks to do this, because in Thoth it's it goes failure, and then it kind of fixes itself from there with prudence, and then the gain. But the rider decks don't have the failure energy. They just have sort of the growing of the garden. And so I sort of merged them both together and went like, okay, so 7, we've got like an empty garden that you're just planting seeds, and it could be experienced as failure if you're impatient and you want those. You're like, I planted the seeds, where's my fruit, right? Because it's gonna take some time for those trees or those bushes or those plants to grow. But then it goes through like 7, 8, 9 is like you're growing and allowing the thing to grow naturally is like the biggest thing. Is like you can't force material abundance to happen. It has to happen naturally, and this is like evident by the nature of like you planted some seeds. Now you gotta like wait, nurture it, let it grow, water the plants, take care of the plants, and it comes to full fruition. But the 10 of discs, now this was like my favorite card out of all of the discs, I think. That one and 6 actually, but the 10 was really, it's really cool because it really is about the legacy that you live on. Like it's not about, oh, I have all of the, you know, I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm popular, I'm all of these things. But it's really, it's more about like the living legacy. What are you leaving behind and sharing with all of those who will then continue in your footsteps? What wisdom is being passed on? And so then the symbolism on that card is really, it's like a grandfather holding a baby, but then behind him, he's got on one side, he's got like the family and the home that he's established, and like his kids and like their, you know, and their life that they're continuing. And on the other side, there's sort of like the sort of more business, the commercial, the work and the labor that continues to generate the more, not only the resources for the family, but also then shares the resources of the family. Then, like, for example, is this growing food, sharing that with all the people and providing this abundance to the people, and the continuation of that cycle. And it was just, it like really struck me because, you know, like that material thing is, people have a fear of it in that sort of this more spiritual new age world and stuff like that, because it's like, you know, well, I thought we were trying to get away from that, but that's not necessarily the case. As you guys were pointing out, there's such a bigger picture. It's really about understanding and knowing like what is this material world and what is life really all about while we're here on, you know, in this realm, on this plane. But, you know, to each their own too. Like if somebody wants to go up into a mountain and like get rid of all of their clothes and belongings and just like sit on a mountain and meditate for 100 years, they could do that, and that would be one use of the physical of the body, which is your ultimate temple, really, and that's it.
I love that, Jordan. That was awesome.
Yeah, well said. Thank you.
Cheers.
That's exactly what my thoughts are on that. In that you can't separate yourself from the physicality and be a balanced being. You have to see both as necessary in some way.
I agree. I think you have to look at them as just tools. You have the spiritual world, you have the physical world, and you just take them two together and intertwine them to make them function both properly, you know? You can't ignore one or the other, because then it's just, I think, chaos. You need to be able to, like duality, you have to understand that one thing is physical, the other side spiritual, and you can work together and make a mold, but you have to be conscious of both sides, you know?
Do you guys remember the, I think it was episode 11, but it might have been referenced to in like the Human History movie, but that like circle and square diagram between that, like, it really came from Drimbolo, but like I animated it in the Spirit Science, I think it was 11.
Yeah, you're an amazing animator for that. I've been trying to draw that all week.
Oh, I mean, it's like you hold shift and you draw a square and you hold this, you make a circle and then you just use the align tool and they just center with each other. But it's that, like, the circle is the infinite, the square is the finite, and then you've got the spirit and the matter, and like the fusion of those two things together really equates the phi ratio. And like it's actually impossible in this realm to draw a perfect, even with a computer, to get like a perfect phi ratio, because it can always get closer. We might actually, with a computer, we may be able to make a perfect circle square, but as far as I'm aware, because like the square is finite, the circle is infinite, so like you can't ever equate it, because the like of that bounding box between the two.
It'll always get close, but not exact.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Only God.
Do that. So Jordan, do you? No, I was just gonna ask Jordan if you wanted to share any of the stuff that we've been working on in the background here. I mean, tarot is like largely a current project, but I don't know if there's anything else you want to like specifically share about what we're doing and where our trajectory is going right now. We got a pretty big month ahead of us, you know.
We do have a very big month. Yeah. Okay. So, we just released the last Spirit Science video, which is doing so well. I'm so excited about it, which is the Baxter effect. And we talk about the field, and like, it's like the intro to the field. Like, with both Aaron and I were like, okay, we want to like take these books, like The Source Field and like The Field by Linda Taggart, and we wanted to like turn them into like this like super spirit, the field movie. And it's a very daunting task, but we were like, well, let's just start with episode 1, and we did the back. We actually wrote the script for that like in January, and it's sort of been, we made the 3D room and everything like that for the scenes, and then like didn't really touch it for a long time, because a bunch of other things took precedence. I was doing some traveling, and then we started on the health series. So the field is like going to be one of the main things that we want to do, but we're also going to, finish the health and the food kind of movie as well. And then we have the Nibiru movie, which is also like, it's close. It's really close. I don't know. We don't know when it'll be ready, because we're having some help on the 3D animation on that part. Just lots of gratitude to Anthony if he's watching, or just sending waves of love for all of his work. So we decided after the Baxter effect that we're going to take just a couple weeks break from videos, just to get really solid on the tarot cards and the website. Because Aaron's been working on a new website, and I've got the tarot cards, which have now, like, as of 2 days ago, the minor arcana are now 100% done. minus some tweaks. I gotta probably take a day and go through and just tweak a bunch of little things here and there. But that just leaves 16 cards to go pretty much, and maybe a few additional secret ones that I won't mention here. But the court cards are the last ones. So there's 4 with each set, you know, the princess, prince, queen, and king for each suit. And I'm really excited about these ones personally because they have always been the ones that I have struggled with the most of understanding. Like when I'm doing a reading and I pull up the Princess of Cups or whatever, I'm like, oh, let me just get to the book. I don't even know, like, what does this mean? You know, like all of the other ones I got down. Like I pull up the 4 of Wands or the 6 of Discs or the 8 of Cups or whatever, and it's like, I got it. I know it. It just makes sense. I look at it and the symbology just shines in my eye. But being able to like draw new versions of the characters really helps my understanding. So these court cards, this is probably going to be this next week. Like I'm going to see if I can get them all done by like, I guess next Sunday or something like that. So that come next week, we can jump back into some new videos. And there's a few different videos that we're working on next. Like obviously, you know, the health one, there's like, we're starting to get into like plant and raw food and like different healing techniques and things like that, and keeping the physical body in alignment and stuff like that. And then I wanted to like, I just had this impetus, and this might even just happen just because it's coming through me, but I really wanted to assimilate a bunch of information that sort of is in support of like the science behind like episode 1, like thoughts. And really kind of maybe even recreate an episode 1, like a revised, remastered Spirit Science 1 thoughts, but with like more up-to-date modern science that really demonstrates, look, the thoughts have a demonstratable, tangible, like they steer reality, fundamentally so. And we touched upon that a little bit in our New Year's video, which, you know, with the latest science with the Institute of Noetics, where they actually like did the quantum, like the double slit experiment, but like with meditators around the world in like a double-blind study, it showed that like they could actively affect the outcome of the double slit experiment just by thinking about it from anywhere in the world. Because I think, I mean, that's really, that's going to be, along with the Baxter effect and the whole source field, like this is really the science that the world like needs to hear and take seriously. And I feel like it's even more important, and I'm sorry to kind of go here, but it's even more important, especially with some of the other science-based like kind of media and stuff that's really being created. Because like, I'm sorry, I have to go there. I watched Bill Nye's new show, and I really wanted to love it. And like, it's like there's less science. I feel like there's less science and more propagation that anything that's alternative or not like mainstream science of like, look, when you heat water, it expands and boils. Like it's seen as like pseudoscience. And obviously that's been like the case, you know, with a lot of these spirit science debunkers, kind of Martimer and all of this energy for so long. And I see like my own responsibility in that, and like making sure that like with every video that we create that talks about something like this, like it really has to be like, no, actually, here's the science. We can't just say like, well, you know, like, I mean, it is this way because look, you know, and like you can see it if you're looking for it. But for a lot of people, I know that it's like, it's difficult to wrap their head around, and just like facing the idea that, wait a second, I create my own reality. What? And it's sometimes it can be hard to like, so we have to cover really every angle, from the scientific perspective, the spiritual perspective, sort of even like acknowledging like the ancient religions or the ancient belief systems and cultures that like also like push this forward, and really bringing it full circle and saying, look, all of the world religions really largely came out of Egypt. Even like all of Judaism and Christianity came out of Egyptian religion. Greek philosophy came out of Egyptian religion. and like Greek philosophy was the foundational basis of modern science, like Hermeticism, the rediscovery of Hermeticism in Florence, in Italy, in like the 14th century or whatever, like the birth of the Renaissance in and of itself, and all of modern science from that point happened because they found the Hermetica. And so it's like, so everything is so connected in this way. And like, if we can really like take all of that history and all of the science and all of the data and just put it all together into a complete picture for anybody, that anybody could just watch it and go, wow, that like actually makes a lot of sense. Holy crap. It becomes very easy to communicate these ideas rather than, like, this is kind of the problem, is when, here's just what happened. For those who didn't see it, episode 2 of the Bill Nye Show, they like basically went out and they just found some random like sound healer, and and it was clearly a guy who's passionate about his work and expressing love, but also was like, didn't have he was very much on that sort of right brain experiential side. He didn't have any like the logic or the science to back up the thing, or if he did, they cut it out, and they really just made like an example of him sort of thing and being like, look, he's crazy. And they just focused entirely on like how ridiculous the practice was, and then completely dismissed and didn't like give any credence to any support of like they had this panel where afterwards where this one guy was like, he was on it. Like this one guy on the panel who was like, wait a second, no, we use ultrasound in medicine to scan the body and break up, kidney stones and stuff like that in the body. And we use music to like soothe the mind and bring harmony and healing. And like both of those have demonstrable scientific effects. So like, why would, just like powerful waves of sound not also have an effect on the body? And they're like, yeah, it's not important. And it's like, that's not a scientific discussion. I'm sorry. Like, we have to be,
we use powerful waves as a weapon now in our military.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. So like, that's real. I mean, like, there really needs to be, and this is, I guess, really to bring it full circle, Aaron, with answering your question, like what we're trying to do moving forward, and we're really excited because we're going to be moving into a collaborative community environment pretty soon, where we can just like really like hone in and focus our energy and just have a never-ending stream of new videos on a regular basis, but like really putting together an actual like just a non-biased observation of all of the information to say like what's real, what isn't, and for the things that like are seemingly untestable, maybe like seeing or exploring ways that we actually could test things. Like this was another one of the things, right? Like in the panel in the new Bill Nye Show, they're like, like crystals, there's no value to it. And the guy's like, well, no, actually all of our computers are based on crystal technology. And like, also if you go to places where there's huge deposits of crystals, you can feel it. Like go to Sedona, and Bill's like, I've been to Sedona and I'm not feeling it. And then end of discussion. But like, if we were able to go like, okay, let's actually do a double-blind experiment sort of thing, and let's explore and find out what effect crystals can have, like with no, if you're putting no attention into it, if you're putting in attention into it, if you're, like what level of there is placebo, what level of effect is it having on the body? Can we demonstrate, like if we looked at the molecular structure of water that had been sitting on its own versus been sitting in crystals or something like that, and like had been like secluded and like this would be a little bit difficult because, as we've seen with the Baxter effect, if like how they're affecting, like if you're thinking about the experiment, you're going to affect it. So like, but like figuring out like how can we test these things and then putting them to the test and demonstrating, some of the validity to these claims, because they're not all just based in random mysticism. There is a science to it, and we just have to like allow ourselves to explore it, I think. So so that's sort of, I guess that's, yeah, like that's sort of all the things that we're working on, in addition to like Aaron is really busting a nut really on this new website, and we're really excited about it. Hopefully we'll have it ready hopefully in the next couple of weeks, but I wouldn't even know. We'd have to ask Aaron.
Is that the Spirit Toolbox?
This one
No,
is something different. We are calling this Spirit Science Central. And Jordan was talking a lot about so like the health series that we were doing, starting to talk about the Baxter effect and wanting to go back into thoughts again. This is all touching base on what I would coin the health spectrum. Mental health. Thoughts are your mental health. And so being really aware of how mentally healthy are you. Like on the average day, I think the statistic is 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. So if you were to actually, we'll say with a tally chart, say every thought that I have on the 60 to 80,000, how many of them fall on the positive spectrum versus the negative spectrum? And like keeping track on that as like a part for your balance, that is a good measure of your own personal mental health. And so to establish now the map between the different aspects of how to observe yourself, observe the human reality, the ego traits, and how to like learn to like thrive in this human experience. But then now you have to move that forward. And Jordan touched on that too when it's talking about the history and looking sort of at the community and the people around you. And as soon as you start noticing where this projection is going, you see this is the chakra tree. So we're starting at root, the health, the very basis of it, saying if you are in a fear state of your own survival and your own like life experience at that level, to move upwards in this tree is going to be very difficult. So we're like grounding in that energy. And then my main objective with this website is essentially to find a way to associate every existing previous spirit science video to how it relates in the progression of literally moving forward from getting your fear completely addressed and moving forward with faith instead of fear, getting your community established, getting your power so that you can like act appropriately in the world without being selfish. Materialistic is like the obsession over material possessions. So it's to be happy and abundant without being materialistic, like finding those balances and then moving into a state of love and generosity and so on and so forth. So all of Jordan's videos to date has pertained in some way, shape, or form, and often cases one video would have many links to multiple different spots along this scale. So my map therein is to try and associate, we'll say, the perspective of the video to the information that it pertains to, and then say, if you want to start here at the root, how to work your way all the way up, just watch these videos. They might not be in, we'll say, chronological order, the order that they were created in, but they'll be in sort of like informational order. But then this map also creates the template for new videos to come. And it's sort of like now at this point in time, we can easily create a new video, plug it in where it goes, and just keep thriving, you know? So the website is going to be the map that links everything together. So it's more of like a concept than just like standard building a web page. If it was just a simple website, typical content, it would be not nearly as complicated as trying to like digest all of the videos that Jordan has produced, find the truth and the information in it, and then build the connections between all of it.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
It's looking really cool, actually. I'm really excited about the work that Aaron's doing. It looks great. So actually, Aaron, on that topic, do you have any idea of like what the timeline looks like for this thing?
That's a really good question. Yeah, no, I want to say like my first instinct would be within probably sometime easily within May. I want to give like a vague thing here because there's lots of potentials for new, this is called feature creep, where every time we have a new idea, it's like, oh, this would be really good to add. Oh, this would be really good to add. And that has the potential of moving the deadline back. So in standard IT and development, you would set a deadline of these are the features that we have listed to have as the required before launch. This is everything else that can be added down the road as like continual improvement as we go. But these are like the critical task list. And so in regards to what we have actually on the critical task list, is pretty short, legitimately. So within several days of work, it's very possible that that could come together. However, to make sure that the, we'll say the server that's going to be supporting thousands and thousands of people coming through, it has to be tested and made sure that it's going to work. And we want to make sure that the experience when launching a new thing is going to be enjoyable for these people. Because the last thing we want is to, hey, here's our new website, and then it doesn't work on all these devices, or it crashes because we flooded our servers. And so making sure that we're doing it correctly, like there's an expression I learned through my work experience, which was essentially slow is fast, which is by taking the time to be very particular and doing it right the first time, will always create a better vibration that pans out better in the long run. I've had many experiences where trying to cut a corner and it ended up taking longer because of that action. So in this particular case, we're not rushing. We don't have a, we'll say like a pressure stress element in this creation, because we know that with that degree of stress, it's not going to reflect the energy that we're trying to create. So it has to happen naturally and harmoniously. And it just is. It's very close now.
It's true. That's what happened with our with the Baxter effect, and why it was released on like Wednesday night as opposed to Monday during the day, is like we just had so much to do on the video, and Monday rolled around, we're like, we're gonna see if we can get it done by the end of the day. But like end of the day came by and we were like, it still needs work. It's and then Tuesday, same thing, same story. And then like end of Tuesday, we're like, we're really close, but we're gonna have to put it on to the next day. And then like Wednesday, we worked all in the afternoon and just like hammered out the last few scenes. We got it done, biggity bang, and it's out, and it was great. So I think like having goals, but like not being attached to having it a little bit afterwards is kind of the flow that we've been going with. I'd love to also to see if this is possible, because like we were talking about having the tarot cards ready for my birthday, that was just my own personal goal, because my birthday's on the 19th of May. We just got word that a new batch of spirit shirts is also ready and on its way here. So if possible, maybe we can like aim for like website launch tarot cards and spirit shirts and like a new video all on like my birthday. That would be so cool. That's because like I've always had like really like a hard time with my birthdays in the past. Like I've just like really been like I just get grumpy. I don't know, like it's something about being older, or energy of like not wanting attention, but like I don't know, there's something about it. But like I figured out the solution to that last year, because what I tried to do last year was like, I want to release a new video, and it had been a long time since I'd released a video, but I want to publish something as a gift for the world on my birthday, because I don't want it to be all about me. I want to use this as a day of like giving something. And so if we can like aim for that as like a thing to like have everything ready for, that would be really cool. Because that's I'm still working. Hopefully I'll get the new tarot cards ready by then. That'll be great.
Realistic goal from my perspective.
Yes, no, we got a couple weeks in that regard, so we'll see if we can do it. But either way, yeah, that's what we're doing. Any questions from anyone, or anything anyone wants to add or jump in with?
Yeah, last year on your birthday, he's asking, was that the Awaken and Transformation video? The one you released on your birthday last year?
Last year on my birthday, it was I don't know what it was called, but it was the music video to the
Aloha
Nako Bear. Yeah, that's the one. It was Nako Bear. And then like shortly thereafter, we actually published another thing, which was, I think we started publishing the Patch Parables or something like that. But I don't think they were, I don't know, I'd have to look. But yeah, I think that it was the Aloha Keapua, which is just such a beautiful song.
Yes. Love that song.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
talking-
awkward silences.
You were talking about. Go ahead. You'd mentioned earlier about the energies lately and how it's keeps bringing you to points of, whoa, I've got to calm down and come back and ground. And you said you're a Taurus. I'm a Scorpio. I'm still feeling very much that same thing. I've been feeling this trend, and I've been talking about it with my friends, that it feels like I like to call it the cosmic weather, has been spinning us a little more, just trying to get us ready to get over whatever it is that keeps holding us back from our own spiritual growth. And I'm seeing it in every person I see in everyday life. They're having these same little fits, and more often than not, it's pretty close to in line with when I'm having them. And it's intriguing to see that connection play out across behavioral influences like that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
We
Have you
have
noticed?
been having space weather.
Please, take it away. Tell us more about that.
Okay. So, well, we've been having more higher solar flares. That's one part of it. But I've been watching the Schumann's resonance, which is the vibration that happens and changes in the ionosphere.
And it's been doubling.
And that's been changing. Yeah, it hit 90 hertz over Easter weekend.
That's higher
and
than I
I
thought.
like skyrocketed into space. It was amazing. I mean, so I think what's interesting is that there is like a karmic progression this is just my opinion on it. So it's kind of like that thing that Jordan was talking about earlier, where it's like, I went to this herbal conference one time and they were talking about, should we make, I'm going to loop it all together, but should we make like herbs pharmaceutical products? But the problem with pharmaceuticals is that they isolate, like you have to isolate a chemical and test it to be able to make sure that it's viable and that it works, like it's testable. With herbs, what's interesting is that there's so many different chemical components and they're so different. Like if you were to take each personality that's on this call and watch a different experiment, how do you isolate one proponent of perception to be able to view an experiment? It's like that with plants. So it's like the consciousness of science has not uplifted itself to the level of consciousness of actually nature and the consciousness of the universe. So how do you test something scientifically with a model that doesn't even work at the same consciousness of our own universe? So it's like, boom, like
Yes.
why are we even using this model, first of all? And second of all, like we are having anomalies in our universe at this point that we can't even comprehend, let alone like scope. So I mean, that's what's happening. That's cool. Like with the space weather stuff, is that I wrote an article about it. It's just amazing watching this stuff happen in the ionosphere, because in our, testable range, which is about 57 to 60 years, we've never seen anything like this before, where the vibration is rising on the planet so much, and that the Sedona effect. Joshua, you're going to be going to Sedona. There's this guy that's testing the vibrational ranges out there, and what he's doing is he's hooking people up to equipment that measure brain waves, and then every time
EEG.
He notices how the brain waves will sink into the vibration that's happening through the vortex. So, cool. I don't know where I'm going with this, but like, I think what's happening is we're going through a different belt or like arm of our galaxy, and our solar activity is changing, it's morphing, and maybe that's what the Mayans were talking about, I don't know. Kind of like lassoing and smacking our earth and being like, time to wake up, with like a new vibration, and we that's physical actually comes from the subtle or the vibrational realm, and then rattles and condenses into something more finite and solid. And so maybe 2012 was more about the changing of our vibrational reality first, to then catalyze and the reality of the physical world to change. So like internally, we're all getting these blasts of like, you know, like a sound healing. If you do believe in that, sorry, Bill Nye, like listening to different music, or like influencing and changing your thoughts. You know, our perception is being challenged right now. We are at an evolutionary, and the decision is, do you fuel yourself with negative vibrations or positive vibrations? And what is the reality after we make that decision?
That is
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. Yes.
I love that so much. I have a practice that I do from Mahajriya, which looks at small components of yourself in a manner of saying, well, you know, say you stubbed your toe and say you had that energy. Now you are completely in choice on whether or not do I actually act like I'm angry, or do I choose to now again create a different thought? Maybe I'll say some mantras. Maybe I'll choose a different reality. At that point in time, you become the creator by how you react to the situations. And there comes a point where it's like even Jordan eating his little piece of bread of, okay, I feel this now in my system, but am I going to choose to be overwhelmed by that? Or even if I feel uncomfortable, there's part of me that can breathe and ground down that completely transcends that. And Jordan was explaining that's what he's doing, you know. And so this all ties really well together to being, you're a lot more powerful than you think. And I think like the new waves of energy are just helping people say, like, how have you been spending your energy with your thoughts? And if you've been thinking negative things about other people, from the unity perspective right up at the top here, those are all just different versions of you from different lives. So you're like projecting more pain onto yourself. And like from an immortal perspective, you can like look at humanity as like a person who's just kind of like not treating themselves well. And it's like, well, you can change that if you so choose to.
Well,
but that's where that power comes from.
And that's
Go
what's
ahead.
interesting about the connection. I think we talked about this last time, but become more connected to the physical realm. I'll bring it back to like the Taurus energy, you know, becoming responsible with like what you eat and what you do, and integrating less of like a conceptual idea, but like actually integrating it into a physical, like, what am I doing?
Why did I want to eat that in the first place, right?
There's a big component too, and this is we're going to be covering this in the health series, but it's not just. I mean, like there's so many different aspects of creating the alignment and the healing in the physical body, right? Like there's one thing is making sure that like the fuel that you're giving to your body is clean. So like we've just been like focusing entirely on food so far, right? But then there's also like, from years of bad practice, you know, a lot of our spines are kind of bent out of alignment. And it's really kind of at the point where it's like, you can eat raw food for 10 years, but if you didn't correct the curve in your spine, you're still gonna, if you're still like texting like this, just hunched over a computer, or just not, you know, like, I mean, not getting some help on fixing the alignment in your spine or whatever, that problem is going to continue to like weigh you down and bring your energy down. Same with like, from years and years of eating dairy and eating lots of meat and stuff like that, our guts, now this one raw food will have an effect on, but like you can also rapidly accelerate the process. But like our guts are lined with lots of mucus. The bacteria in our stomach, there's parasites in our guts. There's the bacteria in our stomach that digests the food is not as healthy and thriving. It's more of the bad bacteria than the good bacteria. And so like taking, getting some support, whether it's enzymes or probiotics or doing colonics and like flushing out your lower systems or anything like that, all of those things will have a tremendous level of effect on the body. And like, food is just more food, and then like once you've cleaned it out or aligned your spine and start doing yoga and getting your muscles in shape and everything, then it's really about like maintaining that, because this all like relates together into like a single unified spiritual practice that you would really have for yourself. And you'll notice, like, let's say you spend a month and you just do like raw food for a month, you do tons of yoga, exercise, you do, some colon cleanse or whatever it is, and then right afterwards, after this month of healing, you're like, wow, I feel so good. Yeah, I can handle some pizza. Like it instantaneously, the moment that you eat it, it just, your whole energy will go, and it'll you'll feel it, right? And so
Might even make me sick.
It does. And then, like, here's the thing, is like once, and this is, I think this is really heavily related to what I was kind of saying earlier with like my own eating a little piece of bread or whatever that like didn't work in my body, was like, I used to be used to eating all of that stuff like regularly. And so it wasn't a problem. But after now, like, experiencing the dramatic contrast of cleaning my body so much and then trying something again that's not as good, and feeling like the instantaneous, like it's like compelling me to have to, like, I don't have a choice now. Like, biologically, if I want to continue to be creative and like operate at a level that I'm satisfied with, I have to eat really well and do these practices and exercise and continue cleaning my body and continue healing. And I'm like kind of in the middle of it. I think that's where like these mood swings are coming from. It's like I'm still like detoxing, various like parasites or various things that are like, like the mucus in the system or anything like that, just from years and years of karmic eating, really, that like is now like being detoxed. And as it's coming out, and I'm experiencing it. And I'll have like my cat last night. Oh my God. Like I was like lying down in bed and my phone's on my nightstand, and my cat jumps up and he starts playing with it, and he's going to knock it down. He does that. And I was so mad. I was like, turn it! Like, I went to hit him, and I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? I have to rapidly change. I have to rapidly change my energy, because I can't go around like being so pissed off at a cat for being a cat, right, buddy? And because he's like my best friend, but like it was just so instantaneously triggered. I was like, I like, whew. So,
but I think but is it the consciousness too? Like, is it being aware of what you're eating that actually because this is where I go when you talk about that. It's like people, for example, eat pizza and burgers and everything else all the time, and they don't feel it. And they don't feel it until they have the consciousness to cleanse their body. They actually get, an elimination diet, essentially. And then there's space to actually be conscious or aware of it. And then your perception is heightened. Just like with this like karmic loop, people who are aware of their own thought processes, like Joshua was saying, get this more immediate karma thing where it's like, oh, I did something bad, immediately, like, I'm seeing karma and the consequences of this way faster because you're more conscious of your environment. So it's like, is it nature or nurture? Like, is it our perception or is it the physical environment? Can we merge these and alchemize the two? Like, am I giving power away through my perception of how this is affecting me? Or is it the actual physical construct? Or is it both? Like, what is, and how can we alchemize this to be at a balanced like level? And I think that the people who are like not awakened, or whatever you want to call it, whenever I say that, it's more like conscious of their environment, like using their neural networks to become aware of your own internal patterns. They're not really seeing karmic cleansing accelerating. Mm-hmm. But people who are conscious of the reality have noticed that something is shifting, because they're aware. And it's just like when you eat something, Jordan, like wheat, and then you're like, oh man, I'm having an inflammatory reaction, like my parasites are having a party inside of me. If you never would have eliminated, like, just like if you never eliminate your bad thoughts, you're not going to notice how that's going to cascade. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of.
It's like using it's like using sensory deprivation to increase the sensory acuity of one sense, right?
Yes.
But for consciousness.
Absolutely. And that's why I love the Taurian energy, because it is all about like the nature of the Taurus, because there's the dark side of the zodiac and then there's the positive. The dark side of the Taurus is like, oh, you're a Taurus, you're going to be like loving alcohol and like loving to indulge. I bet you love chocolate, you love sex, don't you? But it's more about like the ability to really get into the physical form and like sense things on a very intense level. So then like the abuse of that would be like over abusing or overindulging or over going into every physical aspect. But the alchemized part of that would be like using your extra senses as like a tool to alchemize this realm. So it's like, how are we doing that? Like this month would be about, I mean, in my perception or my opinion, would be about how are you alchemizing your physical space with your perception and through your senses, because that's how the Taurus is about being sensual, right? It's like taking in the new smells, enjoying your food, and actually lavishing in it. Not that the dark side would be like overindulging, right? But the alchemized state would be like actually like chewing your food, experiencing all the food on your palate, like allowing yourself to take a nice bath. And I don't know, you know where I'm going with this, but like,
that's been huge. I have something to speak of both of those things, if you don't mind, which is the first chewing. Ever since that, I actually did my first colonics thing. Since then, I have been like specifically like chewing my food so much it takes me like an hour to eat a little salad. Like, and so like food has dramatically changed in that regard. But the other thing, which is actually something one of the scientists said in an interview or a scene that they showed in that movie, That Sugar Film, which is like, people are like, they eat this high sugar diet and then they're like, no, I'm fine. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with me. You know, I just, whatever, I'm fine. But then like the person made the argument, like this, it's like a doctor, a scientist or whatever. They said like, if you don't know what it feels like to be on a different, you know, on a different wavelength, on a clear wavelength, then you do feel fine. Like you're like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm like, you don't realize just how fuzzy in your head you actually are. Like you don't realize that you're unhealthy until you experience the contrast between, oh my goodness, what a dramatic change this is. And you're right, like it takes the impetus to actually say, I want to make a change and actually do it in your life.
But then there is that bit though too, that you do have the physical choice then as well. Like if you observe,
it's entirely choice.
That if you observe, for example, that, I don't know, I've started making it like I have no excuses, but this is like me trying to be Joan of Arc, like impeccable. Like I have, like if I eat some chocolate cake, I will not have mood swings. But this is like me being really astringent, like I have the power to alchemize my perception, so therefore I must be responsible with how I wield this, you know? And so like I know the foods that trigger me, but at the same time, it's like, how do you choose to alchemize that experience? Because this is what I get a lot of the times with, you know, because we do have that choice. Like, for example, Rasputin or whatever his, what's his name? He was poisoned like 3 times or something and didn't die. You know, like we have a choice to use something as poisonous or not poisonous. And because of that, our perception is so strong that we can actually change it. So it's like, can you combine the two? Like, yes, let's eat as good as we can. And on top of that, I'm going to be like an internal warrior and like change my perception to be able to alchemize the experience that wouldn't normally that favorable.
I love that. I do a very similar sort of a practice where I choose to eat the healthy food because it does make me feel good. But then beyond that, I choose to bless my food. And I have a faith that is a lot stronger than all the information that has been sort of conveyed to me through, we'll say, your standard media. And I can choose whether the documentary is for, we'll say, a particular food group, or whether it's against a particular food group. It's whether or not you believe that information is what determines your reality. If you believe it's bad for you, you go into that reality. And there's the objective state where it goes, surely there is a unified human experience that says the what this is actually doing to you has an effect. Yeah. But I believe this goes into that, like the two wolves or the two dragons sort of a thing, where the strongest energy wins. Where if you innately do believe in yourself that it is bad for you, you're going to have a hard time probably overcoming that. Where if you really truly believe that your body as its temple is divinely at such a level that I can take evil into me, transmute it, and still hold life, is like a very, like, that's that warrior positive energy. But there is a balance, because if I just start going in and eating everything because I'm going to transmute it all, I can very much bog myself down, and I can very easily see that being too much. So
that's going to expend a lot of energy, like realistically, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, you can alchemize it, but why? Like, why would you?
Very conscious of it. Yeah. Yeah, why?
I remember talking to Aaron about that before, because he was like, well, listen, like you can actively change and affect the molecular structure of the thing that you're eating. And I'm like, and if you ate a pound of arsenic, you're going to die. and kind of acknowledging that the physical realm. But I do genuinely believe also that, like, if we continued our spiritual practice to rise to the point of, like, being so, like, I mean like Christ consciousness and beyond, that we could literally be like, this arsenic is now wine, and then and enjoy it, right? But that's a level of consciousness that we're going towards, and like kind of acknowledging the balance of the practice in the meantime as we're getting there. Like, one day maybe we can do that. Maybe if it's this lifetime, if it's next lifetime, but like that's the direction we're going as spiritual beings. But like, still, like, I'm not gonna go and drink rat poison.
That's good.
This afternoon, Also, it's worth mentioning I'm at 5% on my battery, and I actually don't have a charger because it's in my dock. So at some point in the next, I don't know, it's stuck at 5 for a while. So we might have some time longer, but it might just all shut down, or it may stay online if this computer shuts down. I don't really know, but
nice.
Yeah.
So another. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to add this last little piece in. I was talking to my friend Sebastian. I'm gonna have to like tag him later, so I need to do conversation. But he tracks, the Mayan calendars, like the predictions and everything. And it's just been speeding up. Like, it just keeps getting. The way that it progresses is like you have the night times and then you have the day, and it's kind of like the yin and yang aspects of reality. And they've been getting like closer and closer, like faster and faster. Like, time just keeps speeding up infinitely. And he had a comment to me, and he was like, "Whoa, are you noticing that the karmic like return is 10 times faster? Like, I get immediate results from what I'm doing." I'm like,
actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is anybody else experience like?
Yes.
100%.
Everyone on the chat.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I'll even have like, we'll say on the scale of 100 or 0 to 100% positive, if I have a thought that's even at like 49% towards the negative thing, like a siren will go past me or something like that, and I'm like, all right.
If I take an action that I like knew was out of alignment, or if I felt like obligated to do something because I made an agreement with someone, and then I'm like, but I'm not feeling it, but I know, like, but I'm gonna do it anyways, and it's already happening, so here we go, and I just go through it or whatever. Like, I'll like within the next like 10 minutes or whatever, like something will happen that it'll be like a little cosmic slap. And normally, if it's not a big deal, like it's not a huge thing, it'll be like a little slap, but it'll be like, wow, like I really kind of like, yeah, okay, and like I got it. So definitely yes.
Crazy. Yeah, and I think it's this progression, like coming back to source, because well, that's just my opinion, though. But so
I would agree as well.
what I'm observing is anytime that there's like the separation from like flow or that unity consciousness, instead of like a slap on the wrist for like, you're doing a bad job, it's like I'm starting to look at it as like, oh, you're just not in unity consciousness. So like you're not looking at the holistic or the crystallized grid point, like through that view. So just go back to that view again and understand the universal truth.
So it's sort of like, it's like you're trying to go, you're moving into unity consciousness, but then you take a step that takes you away from unity, and you experience that as like, it could be like a slap or a manifestation of something dualistic, but it's really just like, oh, you know, one step forward, two steps back. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good perspective on it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's about being good or bad, but maybe just that we're all going back to the same point anyway. So it's just reminding us of like what we're here to do and our mission, and to stay in that love and unity and non-separation. That's just my view on it. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm very excited to get to that level. Like, we're calling the crown chakra in our scale unity, from the perspective of like, if physical health and fear is down here, unity and like the complete opposite of that is on the other side of the spectrum. So to like share that and to help create ways of energy to help move people towards that is really what I think Jordan was even trying to do when he created Spirit Science, of like, there's all this abundance and amazingness that's on this planet presently here. Let's appreciate it and learn from it and have these discussions. It's very important. So like, again, like, so much love for Jordan for all of this, because really, really, we need to have these conversations and to hear each other things, like a mark of intelligence to entertain a thought without accepting it as truth. You've heard that one, you know? To be able to have an open conversation, be all like, how do I feel about these things? Can I test this without having a hypothesis first? You know, can I go out and have an experience without being like, it has to be like this? The energy is bewilderment. To be in awe and wonder all around you is actually a great energy to be in. To be all like, you know what, I actually don't know everything. And that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Every step thou taketh, right? Only further lengthens the goal. Every I don't know it as well. I don't know it as well as you do, but yeah, that one. The intro.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's the intro quote from the Baxter Effect video. There was a Thoth quote that Aaron pulled out that was just so good. But sorry, yeah, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna make a comment about, I love how Aaron throughout this whole thing has had this like scalable model behind him that he's been like.
I was gonna ask, like, when he goes like this, Aaron, when you go like this, are you purposefully lining up? You're like you're like the crown chakra's up here, and you were like dead on, but it didn't look like you were like looking into the camera to line it up there.
I can see myself in my camera screen, and I can see where my hand is elevating to. So yes.
Okay. So
that actually wasn't done intentionally. This is just my wall hanging. It's just where my laptop happened to be, but it worked out really perfectly.
Really well. Oh man. Thank you guys for all of you jumping on the call today. This was so much fun.
Totally.
Yes.
Thank you.
Lots of good conversations too.
Definitely. Yes. I'm so excited for the new Spirit Science episodes.
I want to, Jocelyn, I'm going to send you a message because I want to make a video about that Schumann resonance that you wrote an article on. So that's going to happen. But we'll see. Maybe we can even get another like thoughts revised out for like next week sometime. We'll see.
We can work on that. I like that.
Yeah. I'm feeling compelled to be like not letting us go 2 weeks without a new video. So I might have to balance the tarot cards over a week with the new video. So we'll see.
We'll flow with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to stroke my hypothetical beard now, and just like Aaron and Jordan were.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna stop this broadcast here. I've hit the 1% mark, and I think we've done really, really well today. Are you guys all good with that?
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. And thank you everybody for watching and tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next full moon.
Thank you, Jordan.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Much love.
Love you guys so much. We'll see you later.